changing something and you don't see it clearly yet, but you hear. And this is where most people would not face Jesus anymore. What most people would do is turn away. What I'm telling you is just as he's physically standing here, knowing what's coming, God's saying, can you physically and spiritually and emotionally be able to stand when getting the vision or receiving it might get nasty? I'm going to say it in a point just like that. Receiving vision from God might get nasty. You mean, God, I just bought, in crazy faith, I just bought my dream car. And now you're going to ask me to sell it back and ride in the hoopty again? Yeah, because the vision I'm about to give you, it might get nasty. And do you hear and see the responses of the people? What I'm telling you is how you just reacted is how the people in your life will react when God is doing what it takes for the miracle. What are you saying? This man was blind, and what he was trying to do with this man is give him his DNA.
Oh, is it over?
Yeah, we're good. What's going on, everybody?
Man, I was trying to hear the rest of that sermon.
I don't think so. Homie, don't play that.
It's about to get nasty.
You know what
When the spit hits the fan.
Oh, man. Welcome to the basement, y'all, where theology meets the thoughts of life. And yes, we got some jazz playing in the background, and that's pretty whack. I'm going to put some hip hop on here. Let's go. A little chill hop, you know what I'm saying? Welcome to the basement where theology meets the thoughts of life. It's good to be with you again. We're on every week at 9 p.m. For updates, you can go to facebook.com/Wrath and Grace. That is our group page where you can go and actually ask questions right before the episode comes out. I'm going to put the facebook.com/group/the basement link right there on the screen. So make sure you join us. We do have a website, wrathandgrace.com. You can go to the website, get some t-shirts, get some mugs, get some beard oil, you know what I'm saying, for the homies who in the future will get it. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry. You know what I mean? It's coming by faith. But wrathandgrace.com, make sure you go there and support the ministry. We do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/thebasement717. You can go there and support us, pray for us. And also, we do have an NPC here in the house. For those of y'all watching, can anyone tell me without cheating? Maybe I can't cover it now, but tell me what model NPC this is. For those of y'all who are hip-hop heads, maybe you know what it is. Let me know. Put it in the comment section and you'll get a prize. I won't tell you what it is. It might be just points or even a shout out on the podcast. We ain't got it like that.
You're not getting the NPC.
Right. You're not getting this, but definitely let us know what it is and you'll get a little shout out or a prize or whatever. But it's good to be with you again this week. And I want to thank Lem for coming out and being our guest. What's going on with you, bro?
Chilling.
Yeah. How you been?
God's kind to me. Doing well by God's grace. That's it.
That's good, man. That's good. All right.
That's what's up. I guess before we go further, any thoughts on Russia tonight? Russia and Ukraine. We'll go serious before we get into that crazy stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Lem on your thoughts on it, bro.
Well, I mean, I'm in the military. I'm a chaplain in the Army National Guard, and I think it's sad. There's human souls that are gonna die on both sides, in Ukraine and Russia, for stuff that holds no eternal, weight. Who cares about some plots of land that are gonna get burned up? So I think it's sad. Pray for those people. Pray that God would use the situation, that the gospel could flourish even in a whack situation like that.
Yeah.
That's
no
my
doubt.
thoughts.
Yeah, all things in prayer, man.
Honestly, I I was at work the whole day. Had no time on my lunch break. I was working through my lunch break today, and then I went from work straight to the church. We had a meeting, and then right after the meeting was done, I got in the car, drove here. So I don't have a whole lot to say on it. I haven't looked into it. I'm only going by of what I've heard so far.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Sad. Yeah,
definitely unfortunate. We're praying for Ukraine, for the Ukrainians, and for what's happening. I can just imagine the fear. There's a lot of people leaving towns, and so our hearts and prayers go out to that country, man. Praying for the believers out there that hopefully, can still be a light,
Yeah.
and God can use this somehow, some way in His sovereignty. And so He is using it in His sovereign plan. So we're definitely going to be praying, and not to make light of it, man. We're going to hit up a topic today, right? It was something that we already planned, but we're definitely heavy-hearted for Ukraine and for what's going on over there. So
yeah,
we got to pray.
Prayers up. Yeah. Prayers up. It was between this topic and a topic on prayer. So maybe we'll hit the prayer topic next week, and I'll have more to say on that.
Yeah.
We can have more to say on that next week. So let's get into today's topic. Today, man, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to speak on a lot of the craziness that's been happening in the Christian church. If you saw the clip that we opened up with, one thing that we're going to be unpacking is the Michael Todd / spitting situation. The pulpit.
Oh,
He was
bro.
He was in the pulpit.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. How we should be handling these type of things happening in front of our eyes, no pun intended. and what the Bible tells us to do in spite of the dysfunction going on. So whether it's the Michael Todd situation, whether it's the Omicron preacher situation, which will be...
Bro, I don't think you heard that one, did you?
This one's fresh.
Bro.
This one's fresh.
Bro.
Or whether it's the viral videos of the witchcraft being called out in the churches. Hillsong being exposed. Mars Hill being exposed. So much to discuss. But the main thing is like this. Like, oftentimes as Christians, we are forced to respond to what is going on in the church. So whether it's responding on what other Christians are doing wrong, or maybe what we're doing wrong. I just want to hear what you guys thought about that, what others are thinking about this. So today, that's the topic we're going to handle today. So
Let's do it.
Episode 110, What in the Church? Part 1. In the basement, where theology meets the thoughts of life. So, I got it. I always start off with a question. Put it in the comment section. You guys can feel free to answer this question.
Let's do it.
Those of you that are in the comment section, feel free to answer it. Don't just listen to us. We want to hear from y'all as well. So there we go. I put it in the comment section. My question for the audience, my question for Los, Lem, me. Have you ever felt ashamed to be associated with Christianity because of unbiblical things being done in the name of Christ? Why or why not? If you did feel ashamed, if you did feel guilty or something like that, How did you handle this inner struggle?
What's good, Lem? What are you thinking?
I mean, there's an element of
Speaking to the mic, brother.
there's an element of sure, like it's like when your kids are wilding out at the grocery store, right? It's like, yo, you're bringing shame on our house right now.
Yo, you making us look bad.
But it's still your kids, and you personally know the sins you struggle with, and things you might have thought that were whack or taught at one point. So I guess as I think about it, it's like, dang, like, it's real easy, like, look at Ravi Zacharias or something like that and be like, shh, man, that's whack, man. But at the same time, it's like, have I done what Ravi Zacharias did in my heart? Like,
Right.
so.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's good. How about you, Los? Have you
and-
felt the shame, guilt, the embarrassment?
I think I was probably more embarrassed in churches that I was involved in for some stuff that happened than I was like stuff that happened on the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
they hit closer to home,
Yeah.
and I think not ashamed of the Christian faith, but it made it more difficult for me to confidently share my faith, especially with skeptics, right? Because then they'll point out things and say, see, that's why I don't. And that's difficult.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, man. It puts you in an awkward position to kind of like not defend the person that claimed Christ
Yeah.
while trying to present the faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't say I've been ashamed to be associated with the faith, but it's been difficult to navigate through it with the skeptic or somebody who's kind of like on the fence with it. So yeah, I would say I never was ashamed, but complicated. It was very complicated.
Yeah.
'Cause of stuff
Like a
that
relationship. Somebody asks, yo, y'all together? It's complicated.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? I've felt more shame or embarrassment whenever it happened in the church I was at. So like if I invited somebody to church and then in the church service people start falling out and doing too much, I'll be like, all right, y'all, come on, man. Like, not this Sunday. Because I come from a Pentecostal background. And so, sometimes I'll be in church. That's when I felt the most embarrassment. Never, I don't know if I've ever gone as far as to say I was ashamed to be called a Christian. Maybe ashamed of what other Christians were doing. But not ashamed of my faith in Christ.
Absolutely.
But more about what the church was doing. And even like whenever you're sitting in class, I've sat in college courses whenever they've brought up what Christians have done in the past, especially as a younger Christian. I would feel some type of guilt or shame, embarrassment whenever you read about stuff like the Salem witch trials. When you read about, so-called Christians, forcing the Bible down slaves' throats and stuff like, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. I've definitely felt the shame or embarrassment when it comes to that, but most of the times I feel it more whenever it's in my own church or around people I know and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess the best way to handle this inner struggle is to, of course, go back to the scriptures with it. There's no other standard that we live by other than the scriptures. No other authority that we can fall back on in times like that than to go back to the scriptures. And if something's wrong, then call it out.
Yeah. One thing that helped me was to join them in their disapproval or skepticism. Like, yeah, I get it. I get it why Joe Osteen is funny. You know what I'm saying? Or not trustworthy. Like, we don't rock with that. But let me tell you why.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then we begin to unpack authentic Christian faith. So agreeing with them sometimes is helpful. You know what I mean? Joining with them and saying, yeah, I understand. I'm with you. But let me show you what's authentic.
Lynette says, bummer when people bring up what Calvin had done historically or what white slave owners who were theologians. Yeah. Yes, definitely that right there. Cousin Ruby says, I sure understand why Jesus turned them tables over. Them tables over. So I get it.
Nick Shepard says, no shame. I think it gives a good opportunity to tell people the truth about Christ and how things are unbiblical. And Daniel Rodriguez says, ashamed? No. Embarrassed at times? Definitely. Sadly, you oftentimes don't want to be associated as a, quote, Christian because of how badly past and present believers portray a Christian. But I pray my life and faith and conduct reflects Christ as much as possible, he says.
Before I get into the next comment, it reminds me of like, I don't know if you've ever had family. Yeah, I'm sure you have family members that just embarrass you, like uncles, cousins. Like when they come around and people and they're telling people, yeah, that's my cousin. It's like, yo, don't tell people I'm your cousin.
Right.
Yo, or like, yeah, that's my uncle. Yeah, that's my auntie. It gets like that sometimes.
Yeah.
So if there's any shame, it's that type of shame.
Yeah.
Not ashamed of Christ, but yeah. Stephen said, not ashamed, but if someone says they don't believe in Christianity because of their experiences with it, I dig more before sharing my beliefs. Yeah. Garrett says that shame has existed though since the church was born. Peter was ashamed of Christ. Before I found a firmer foundation, I have been ashamed of my unbelief at times. Yeah, so now we dig into like deeper levels to this. Yeah. That's good, Garrett. As always, he got to be like a rotating member of the basement, like somehow. Some way we got to.
I think he wants us to pay him though.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's too expensive.
Okay, yeah.
He's cut that out,
expensive
bro.
Special guest.
Yeah, he can't afford you, bro.
Yo, Garrett, anytime you want to join us though, for real.
Yeah,
for
real.
Sure, yeah. Man. So let's go forward. So we've been going through the book of Galatians in the basement and talking about how there's no other gospel than the true gospel of Jesus Christ. Galatians 1:6-7. I am astonished. This is Paul talking to the Galatian church that has been bewitched by people who are preaching a false gospel. He says, I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting him who called you in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel. He goes forward, not that there is another gospel, but there are some who trouble you and want to distort the gospel of Christ. I bring that up because a lot of times what we're dealing with is gospel issues. Whenever we're dealing with the embarrassment, the guilt, or maybe it's a lesser version of that, but all in all, they're not holding to the true gospel. They're not holding to the true word of God. They're holding to a false interpretation of the word of God or a false practice that comes from bad hermeneutics. Speaking of which, when we start talking about the Omicron preacher,
Oh man,
we will be discussing the whole hermeneutics thing.
yeah.
So as we move forward, let's keep that in mind, that we are here to preach the true gospel as Christians. We are here to hold to the true gospel and nothing else.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, what do y'all think about the meta church? Because the meta church is coming.
Yeah, very interesting.
I mean, I think I'm really into this stuff. I love it. Not necessarily love the meta church. I love
Discussions like
sci-fi.
that. Yeah.
And I love the reality that we're in this time we're in. At the end of the day, there's going to be human beings living, for the most part, their lives in this space. So the church would be wise to think about what that means for us individually, but also the reality that there's going to be, like right now, we're on Facebook. I don't personally have a Facebook, but I understand that this is a tool that could be used to, reach people. And if people are going to be in that space, we're going to have to be there.
So being Christians being in those spaces is one thing. How about church service happening in those spaces?
It's already happening.
as a substitute.
It's already. I mean, people are like, yo, you go to church? You're like, yeah, I do the virtual, you know.
So like we would say to a person that is married to someone of the same sex, do we consider that to be a real church? The same way we would say to a person that's married to someone of the same sex, you know, like that's not a real marriage right there. That's not what God.
I think there's
instituted.
degrees, right? So I'm not going to put those in the same category, personally.
Right.
Like if somebody, for instance, if somebody was like, I know people that are sick, like for real sick, and they're not going out in public because of the reality of the world we live in, or the fact that they're as sick as they are. So they attend, they're chopping it up on the phone with people. That's a means of grace they have right now in their life. I mean, ideally, we want this, like right now, to be able to see each other, cry and laugh with each other, but.
So you're talking about a very small percentage of people.
Yeah,
Similar
that's
to
legitimate.
Similar to the way when some people say, well, I got the abortion because of medical reasons, but which a lot of times are very small percentages, right?
See, I mean, again, I'm not sure I put digital church in a sin category.
Okay.
It could be easily.
Okay.
I mean,
I haven't said my stance yet.
Yeah.
I'm kind of playing devil's advocate right now.
I guess I have room for the reality of what it's going to be, and what that could look like for everyday Christians.
One thing that we dealt with during the pandemic, as a lot of churches were still closed and we were trying to open up, after a certain amount of time, me and Los both decided, like, we're not going to air the whole service online because we don't want people getting to the point where they think that that's a good substitute for them joining us live on YouTube. And then they go around saying, yeah, I went to Christ Alone Fellowship for church this past Sunday, or, you know, I'm a member over there. I'm a regular attendee, or, you know, that was one thing that we had to wrestle with. It was a tough decision because it was literally like 3 months into the shutdown. So March, I think it was March or February, whenever the shutdown happened of 2020. And by May, we decided we were going to open back up.
Yeah, we shut down the end of March, the last Sunday of March, and then we opened back up mid-June.
Yeah. So about 3 months.
Yeah.
Something like 3 months.
But that was early on, so we were just trying to figure out what the pandemic was.
Right. And I think we stopped airing the full service maybe 6 months into the pandemic.
Yeah.
So by fall, we were thinking, okay, from now on, we're just going to record the sermon so that we have it for reference, but we don't want people thinking that this is a good substitute.
Right.
And I believe, not saying that this is just like everybody do this, but I believe that God like blessed that.
Yeah.
I believe God blessed that.
He used it. I'm with Lem. I wouldn't call it a sin, but I think there's some things that will qualify it a sin, right? So I think if you're replacing virtual with actual fellowship, then I would call that a sin. Because I feel like you're forsaking the fellowship at that point.
Okay.
Like if you have the ability to go in fellowship and you don't, like there's some people that can't, you know, some people are handicapped, can't do it. But if you're not going because you're not willing to go, I think that's problematic. I think. Now I can't call it a sin because we did it for like almost 3 months.
Right.
Because we had to, right? So the actual watching a sermon or a service online is not a sin, but if you're forsaking the fellowship, you can attend, but you decide not to. That's where I think there's a problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think we're in agreement. All together. I don't think I've seen a disagreement yet.
Yeah, it's hard to know what the world's gonna look like in the future, right? So I guess who would have ever imagined back in Paul's day what we're doing right now?
Right.
So I mean, 1,000 years from now,
this is kind of
if the Lord doesn't return.
Yeah.
It's like, man, we could be thinking so primitively about this. Like it could be metaverse could be it is the air that people breathe. Like they,
Like the Matrix type.
Yeah, I have
Is
not.
that what you getting
I haven't
at?
given my stance yet.
I mean,
I haven't given my stance yet.
I want to hear that.
So I am 1,000% for meta church. No, I'm playing. Nah, I like I said last episode. Where was we? Where were we at? Where we were talking about this? Where I said, I think it was our last Q&A last week when I said, everyone says they're for or against something until they're in the situation. Mm-hmm. And what I meant by that is like everyone today in 2022 says that if they were Christians back in the 1800s, they would have pushed for all Christians to release their slaves into the world, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not very practical, because what would have happened to those slaves in the 1700s and stuff like that, like if they would have just been left out? Mm-hmm. Who knows what they would have probably been taken into another plantation. So what I'm saying is, it sounds good now in 2022. Yo, no meta church. Mm-hmm. 100 years from now, who knows what that's going to look like?
I guess it goes back to your hermeneutic of what forsaking the fellowship means.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
So I think it's literally saying, you know what I'm saying, forsaking the fellowship. Yeah. Is attending a virtual church forsaking the fellowship of the saints if you're able to meet?
I think right now,
in person.
I think we can only deal with the here and now. Like, we can try to be futurists and look into like 100 years from now or whatever. Like,
well, I mean, it's like saying,
I'm just saying on the meta church in general, like the here and now, right now.
Right.
I agree. Like, there should be people. It could be an option out there for people who can't go right in person.
Yeah.
But for the most part, get your butt to church. Like, what I really would want to hear on a case by case basis, like we always say, because that's the best way. Dealing with hypotheticals is one thing. Like, what if?
Yeah, there's always exceptions, right?
But on a case by case basis, like, why is a person not going to church? Oh, because they'd rather do meta church. All right, now we got to have a different conversation now. Mm-hmm. So and especially when you start throwing in there like what EC brought up, like people going on the platform with different avatars, somebody preaching from the pulpit looking like Tony the Tiger. like what are you doing? I saw this
like
one
Thundercat or
I
something.
saw all these Disney characters. Yeah, I saw this one
wild,
person preaching from the pulpit, and he had like the Rafiki joint from Lion King, the Rafiki avatar. I was like, wild. What is going on, yo? So, I think we need to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. What is stopping a person from going to church? But let's get into the meat and the potatoes of today's episode, right? What happens when the spit hits the fan?
That was so gross.
What were you guys' thoughts on the Michael Todd sermon illustration? Give me first thoughts, give me second thoughts, give me present thoughts, give me afterthoughts.
I looked at the boy he spit on and was like, dummy. That's what I first said. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, it's his fault.
Yeah, he got to walk around.
It's his fault.
He got to walk around with the spit face now.
Bro.
Now, every time somebody sees him, they be like, yo, wasn't you the boy?
Yeah. Right.
The crazy, he didn't even do it how Jesus spit in the dirt and made mud. Like, he didn't even he just spit on his hands with a loogie.
Yo. See the mud. See, you missed that. You missed that in this illustration. So the mud was the COVID that was on his hand.
That stressed me out. I'm still stressed out thinking about it.
That's a crazy,
it's super gross.
That's a crazy sermon illustration.
He apologized for it, didn't he?
He did. He'd made an apology video after everything went viral.
But he did it before that, too.
Yeah, this isn't the first time he did the spit. It just became more viral this time. So, how y'all feel about that? Do you feel like sermon illustrations like that are too much?
I don't think it's a sermon illustration. I just think it's out of order, right? So it doesn't.
Well, it's a sermon illustration. I'm not saying it's one that's in line with the scripture,
right? But I'm questioning whether it's even a sermon at this point. You know what I mean? So like, I think he undermined everything he was trying to do. It became a big distraction. I think in general, he's just a big distraction himself. Like, it's just taken away, you know what I'm saying, from what you could have learned. And now that people are going to read that part in the scriptures, now you're going to think of dude. And that's exactly how it works out.
But
right?
that's bad press is good press.
Right.
But at this point in 2022, as long as you're being mentioned, that's all that matters.
Yeah, and the sad part is when people read that text, they're going to be distracted now. And that's exactly, that's the disservice you do, in people's Bible reading and their studies. You're taking them away from what the passage is meant to speak of. Mm-hmm. Now you're thinking of some dummy on stage that allowed some other dummy to spit in his face rather than looking at the text and seeing the beauty of Jesus, the healer.
That was a team of dummies. Because, like, say if that happens at our church, they kind of knew what was coming. He was building up to it.
Yeah.
Why didn't somebody step in?
Right. He probably got a bunch
Everybody
of yes
was cool with
men.
it.
He probably got a bunch of yes men and all that. That's how it usually goes. You have the star up top, bunch of yes men at the bottom. They ain't gonna say nothing.
Did you see the clip?
I saw the clip. If dude was actually blind and he actually healed him, that would have been dope. But now you know what's interesting though, with the concept of things going viral. I mean, everything's online, and things like this have been happening for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. But now we all see it all the time.
Right.
It just it popping up on screens, just on a continuous stream. So it makes me think back to the embarrassment piece, because I thought whoever that was on the comments made a good delineation between shame and embarrassment. Yes, that's embarrassing. Mm-hmm. I mean, that I don't know who that preacher is. He might be my brother in Christ, but it's embarrassing, and I think he knows that, and that's probably why he made that apology video, because now the world's watching it. That's on whatever news feed that people go on, and they're like, preacher spits in man's, or put spit on man's face. It's like,
you want to cue the next clip up? Lynette says this is what happens when God's word is not enough. Theatrical stuff. So, speaking of God's word, we're gonna go to a clip. And you tell me, is this proper exegesis or no? Is this good hermeneutics or no? Is this biblical, Christ-centered preaching or no?
Y'all ready for this?
Y'all ready for this? Go ahead, man.
All right. Well, here we go. Oh. All right.
The Lord said, go study Omicron. So
I can't hear that.
Omicron. It's the 15th letter in the Greek alphabet.
Hey, play it back.
The Lord said, go study Omicron. So I studied the word Omicron. It's the 15th letter in the Greek alphabet. But its actual definition, I'm just asking y'all. The actual definition is, it's the Greek word for little o. Little o. And it says it's in juxtaposition to omega. Which is capital O. So if I serve the Alpha and the Omega, then why am I worshiping at the altar of the little o when I have a contract with the Omega? I serve the Alpha and the Omega. So Omicron has to bow down. I need somebody to open up your mouth and begin to
Yo, the music build up.
Oh, that's torture, bro.
Oh my goodness.
Torture.
Yes. So first, second, third thoughts. Any thoughts?
I don't understand I'm kind of confused what he was getting at. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Wow. Yeah. So, nah, we're not doing that. See, it's biblical. it's unbiblical preaching like that is embarrassing.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing. And you throw in there, like, I throw that in the same embarrassing category as like those dudes that were going around prophesying that Trump was going to be president, voted in again. You know what I mean? Going to get reelected. Like, I throw that all in the same bag where it's like, if you don't feel ashamed after you said that, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, there's a lot of clips out there like that, man. That's crazy.
Was he in process of prophesying? Like, what was the?
I'm sure I'll never listen to the rest of that sermon, so I don't know.
All right. I mean, either way, I don't
even think context would do it justice.
Yeah, why are you giving people that when there's so much here?
Yeah.
So much life here, so much goodness here, so much beauty here.
Yeah.
You choose to talk about something. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
At all. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's stuff like that, man. I've grown up in churches, not to that extent that bad, but I've heard some pretty crazy stuff in the churches I grew up in or attended and went to. As a Christian hip hop artist, I would sometimes show up at events and I would hear stuff like that and go, whoa. I felt embarrassed for being at the event. You know what I mean? I think for the most part, the world looks at clips like that, and that's where they get all their stereotypical Christian jumbo that like you see all in the, Hollywood movies and shows, and they laugh at us for stuff like that right there.
Yeah, and you have to agree with them, right? You have to say, yeah, that was dumb, that was stupid, but that's not us.
Right.
You know, that's
right.
not what authentic believers do. You know, yeah, I know enough about that guy that I'm comfortable saying that I don't, well, let me say it this way. I question whether he's of faith or not, but definitely not reliable, you know, when it comes to truth or the gospel. Like, I want to stay away from this dude, you know.
Not the same thing, because obviously that preaching is different than like sexual sin or something like that, but it reminds me of Romans 2:24. For as it is written, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. It's situations like that where it's like, see, because of situations like that, that's why God's name is being played with among the nations. Because of stuff like that that's done under the banner of Christianity or under the umbrella of Christianity.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they be feeling comfortable saying what they want to say. Like, we don't see too many clips of that, of like coming from Muslims. You ever notice that? We don't see too many clips like that coming from like Jewish rabbis and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
I'm trying to think of
like, why is it always the Christian clips that go viral?
That's a good point.
I think there's a few reasons.
I just thought of that right now, by the way. It's not part of our script.
Well, one, because the spiritual forces of evil are going to highlight that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of whackness going on in other circles, but...
The other ones are already counterfeits, right?
Yeah, so it's like, make the Christians look dumb. But also, you know, there's a beauty in the freedom we have as Christians, where it goes to whack points where we abuse that freedom and say crazy things, do crazy things, and bring shame or embarrassment to the body. But it is dope to think that we have a certain amount of freedom that we have within our circles, where you say that in the wrong circle, you're gonna get your head chopped off. We just chop each other's heads off in different ways.
Yeah.
It's like this, but it's more of the fact of like, I guess I'm highlighting the fact that there is grace and mercy amongst us. It's sad that we abuse it, and it's sad that we do all kind of whack stuff. I don't want to excuse any of that. That's embarrassing, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw the viral video going around of Pastor Greg Locke. He was threatening to expose the witches in his church. Did you get to see any of that, y'all?
I didn't see that one.
Somebody
told me about it.
Yeah, he's talking about like he knows there's so many witches in the church, and he's ready to expose them. And I've been hearing more of that lately, where it's like witchcraft in the church. I've been hearing more of that lately, online and in person. But witchcraft in the church, is it on the rise? What do you do with it? How do you respond to guys like this that is threatening to expose witches in his church?
It's interesting. I don't know.
Like, do you separate yourself from people like that?
My thing is, what are you doing on the pulpit? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So is your pulpit governed by issues or the scriptures?
Right.
What's governing your pulpit, your focus on your people and what they need? Because that could be an issue where the elders can come together and be like, yo, like, I think we got some witches in the congregation, or we got this going on. You know what I mean? So like on the elder level, I could see that being taken care of, but why put it on a video and on your pulpit and make it a big point? So yeah, I'm kind of suspect about it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just think about stuff like that, like the Omicron joint, the spitting on people. I don't know if you guys saw the Hillsong joint. Hillsong, there's another, all these documentaries. We're in the age of documentary at this point, and they make a documentary about a documentary, and so they're making a documentary about Hillsong. It's called Hillsong, a mega church exposed. So. They're about to start exposing stuff that has been talked about Hillsong.
They're kind of late to the party, but yeah.
They're late to it, but they're
you know what I mean?
Like, see, everything else was this is what documentaries do. They take all separate incidents, put them together, and put it in front of your face. Like the R. Kelly, surviving R. Kelly joint.
Right.
It wasn't that they were trying to break with brand new news. They're just taking all of it and putting it together and putting it on a plate, putting it on a platter, and going, here you go. I collected all of this. It's almost like you find a dinosaur bone here, you find a dinosaur bone there, and now you put the dinosaur together.
Yeah. I just wonder if Discovery Plus is doing it for the simple fact that there was
money
issues.
Oh, it's always about the money.
But artistically, or like when I'm thinking of the director, the person piecing it together, like what are they doing? Are they doing it to kind of like, badmouth the church as a whole, or you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just wondering what. There's always that that vibe that goes into these videos. There's that liberal vibe or conservative vibe, whatever it is. What
just
angle are they coming? Yeah, like
it's another knock at the church.
What are they doing? So yeah, I'm thinking about watching it, to be honest.
Oh,
because there's always those little details you don't know about. Like, of course, Hillsong. If you've been paying attention, you know some of the details, but there's always like these in betweens that you don't get.
There's gonna be one day of the Ravi joint. I already know it. Give that a couple more years, they gonna put that joint out.
Yeah, probably. Sadly, but
yeah. So last thing, we'll discuss before we start moving forward with content. Did you guys see the major article, the viral article that went around of the priest that used one wrong word during the baptisms, and now they're questioning whether the baptisms were real baptisms, whether they were valid?
Yeah.
How y'all feel about that? What is y'all view on the baptism? Is there a certain script you got to go by or something like that? Like,
I mean, there should be a reverence and a seriousness with it, but I don't think there's some like formula that's gonna magically save you. Or
the main thing was he said, "I baptize you," rather than
we.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we baptize you rather than I baptize you, and or Christ baptized you or something like that. It was just one word.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
What church was it?
That's a Roman Catholic
Church.
Yeah, I mean, their view on baptism and what it does.
Yeah.
So right away we're gonna have disagreement. So it's just kind of like.
So, how should we? Because I asked this question in the basement already. How should we respond when someone blames you for what other Christians or other churches are doing wrong? Like, what is the right way to respond when we see things like that happening to us?
That's a good question, man. I think I made a lot of mistakes early on in my cage stage that I've been on for. Not been on, but I would say I got out of for 2 years. I was into it, just disgruntled. I remember yelling at the TV at Paula White, just furious at the false teaching that was happening. Yeah, your question is about how should we respond, right?
Yeah,
I think it's complicated because now we have all these outlets. Facebook, Instagram, whatever the case is, and we feel like we always got to say something. So the temptation to say something now, it's a little bit different than it was when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like,
I'll put that in the comment section for those of you that are watching right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I think now you have to ask the question, is it wise to say anything right now? Or can I take time to process what I'm thinking about? Like, can I think through this first and not jump into posting something publicly? I think
we've learned to do that here in the basement a lot, even in podcasting. Yeah. A lot of times people want you to respond right away. That's why I really didn't want to give my first response on the whole Ukraine and Russia thing. Like,
yeah, we usually wait.
A lot of times I don't give my first response.
There are times we jump on a topic that just came out, but even then we're still a little careful about saying something. At least I try to be. Maybe I did say something that was whack. I don't know, but
yeah.
I just know that I've made a lot of mistakes early on when social media became a thing, and I would say things too quickly. And I think we're just too quick to post things and say things. We don't think about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to put in here what Josh actually said. I definitely agree with that. I asked this question in the basement, and I said, how do y'all respond whenever you see this, when you're going through this right here? He said, take seriously their claim. Number 2, ask them where you or the church may be falling short. Number 3, analyze them where you or the church may be falling short. Okay. I hate when the comments do that. Then through prayer and discernment, figure out if their claims align with reality. If not, lovingly explain to them that they are mistaken and try to reconcile the situation. If the claim is true, that they're blaming you for it, begin the steps of repentance and ask God how we might get better, and listen to the person on how we might be more loving to them. Yeah. There we go.
Who was that?
That was Josh.
Guider?
Yeah.
All right, Josh.
I just put that in the comment section for y'all.
Word. Shout out to Josh, who's single. Just saying. Go ahead.
Josh is single. Yes, he is available.
Yo, it makes me think of this one time, right? I don't know if you were there, Los. This was always brand new to the faith, and back then we were crumping. This was before I was a b-boy. You remember the crumping movement?
Yeah.
So the Rise movie and all that. There was a bunch of us back at LBC back in the day watching Rise, and we were crumping. So All for Souls was doing a show, right? And yeah,
Was that
and
with? Wait, they did a show with Cross Movement?
Nah, it was just like a
something
Lancaster
else?
show.
Oh, okay.
There was a few different groups there.
Okay.
I remember Tori was there. I forget who all was there, but I remember going out on stage and I started crumping. And I ripped my shirt, right?
What?
Wait, we got a video of this.
You got a video of me ripping my shirt? Oh,
Yo, play it.
goodness.
Say
No,
that.
please never play
You
that
ripped it,
video.
and then you try to like give some praise or something. I was like, nah, bro.
Yo,
Nah, bro.
Yo, we're opening up the show next time with that.
But there was a whole group of like a middle school girls
Oh my
group there, right? And they all started screaming.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you, afterward I had people talking to me. I brought
Yo.
embarrassment.
Bro. I remember it was the joint you went like this, and then you were like, I was like, put your hand down. It's too late, bro. I was like, it's too late. I actually laughed. I didn't get mad, but I was cracking up at that joke. Yeah, but there's a video out there somewhere, and thankfully we don't have it.
Oh man, come on. We gotta find that one.
See,
gotta
there's
find
growth that can happen for everyone. I don't rip my shirts off anymore.
Yo, that's funny. Oh man.
I remember that joke.
Yo,
No,
if you
but-
have that video and you're in the chat right now, you can blackmail me. I will pay you whatever. Do not release the video.
Lynette said, Lem, I would have definitely been ashamed.
So when it comes to this right here, I've been noticing, man, and this may open it up for more conversation, but so ever since, I don't know, the social justice issues have gone up, racial tensions have gone up in the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years or whatever, right? However long you want to trace it back, things ramping up. I guess it's like, what, 12 years or something, 2010? I don't know. But anyway, I've been noticing, especially within the last 2 years, since the George Floyd joint, a lot of white people trying to come up to me and affirm to me that they are not racist. I had it happen to me today.
Oh, wow.
I was there to counsel someone because recently they came to the conclusion, they came to like the reality, like, oh my gosh, I'm a Christian and my Christian faith tells me that my loved ones who did not believe in Jesus, I will not see them whenever I'm in heaven. And so it hit them hard, like, man, you mean to tell me my sister who is gay, I'm not going to get to see them in heaven? So I'm trying to, I don't know, counsel the person through that, help them through the situation. But in the middle of the conversation, they said to me, it'd be a good time to talk about my past right now. And they start talking about their past and they're like, I just want to let you know, I never have done anything against black people growing up. I've never heard racial slurs, and they just wanted to affirm that they are not part of whatever racism that has gone on in this country, right? But then they went forward with it and said, but I did find out in my lineage that we own slaves. And they just felt so ashamed, and they got pretty quiet in the room when they mentioned that. I'm only bringing that up because the white guilt is very similar to the Christian guilt, where sometimes as Christians we'll go in depth to try to tell somebody, I'm not like those Christians. I know what you've seen, and I know that's done under the name of Christ, but like, I'm not like them. And so a lot of times we do. I think I don't know. I think that can be the wrong way to go about responding to stuff like this that happens. As a Christian, you shouldn't have to feel that Christian guilt.
Yeah, I agree.
You should be able to ask yourself, are you guilty of it? If not, then why do you feel that guilt?
Yeah, like it goes back to what you're saying. You know, I don't think I felt shame because that's not authentic Christian faith, or at least some of these things aren't. And so then I get into the mode of clarifying what is authentic Christian faith, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say to say that that's not us is still good.
Yeah.
But to do it out of shame and embarrassment, that's off.
Yeah. It's similar. Like if we see John MacArthur doing something that's out of line, he's not in my church.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but if that starts happening in my church, then it's like, all right.
I think if you feel a great sense of shame and embarrassment, maybe you're putting too much into the man.
Right. Right.
Maybe that's saying something about you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be very defensive of public figures in the faith to the point of like arguing.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to catch myself. I'm like, hold up, though. I don't even know, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't put too much bank in people.
Yeah.
So maybe it's saying something about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe we're thinking too highly of people.
Yeah. This Christian guilt gotta go though.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
And it's a good platform to start conversation. Like, you know that the church is people that are sinners that are saved by grace.
Absolutely.
It's like, I mean, what sins that, you know, it's easy when it's like you see something like Ravi Zacharias or, I don't know, Joel Osteen, Money in the Walls. You know, it's easy to just be like, oh man, like these are big, but it's like, oh, hold on, like let's think about this. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about hypocrisy. Let's talk about, you know, lust. Let's talk about greed.
Yeah.
Given the opportunity, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
You think you could do that? Is that something that you, in your heart, can? And it's if people are honest. If they're being honest, they have to come to the point where they'd be like, yo, like, I don't have as much power as Joel.
Yeah.
That dude got a dumb amount of, I mean, I don't know about the Money in the Wall situation. I just said that.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's, I don't know how many people, stadium full of people that, you know, attend his services. And that's a lot of power. That's a lot of, you know, opportunity for pride and all these other things. I'm not sure how I would deal with that.
Yeah.
I like that, bro, because I think that's a good segue into the gospel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you see that you could do that, that you would do that, you know, what hope is there then for people that, you know, for all of us who could do that and would do that? Or what did Christ do? He wouldn't do that.
Amen.
He never did that. So I like that. I think
And by the Holy Spirit, we don't do that. You know what I mean? I do want to highlight that too to them. Like, yo, like I have victory because of what God does in me. And yeah,
that's good.
Any concluding thoughts, guys, as we're starting to close up here? I'll start off. When it comes down to people pointing things out, that was done in the name of Christ. A lot of times we see general blanket statements being thrown out there. You Christians and, you know, ask for specifics. Ask for specifics. And sometimes just asking them questions can help them to figure it out on their own. They may come to the conclusion before you even have to tell them, yo, that's them. That's not us. Yo, that's wrong. That's not of Christ. Sometimes you can ask them questions and prompt them in a way to where they can answer the questions for themselves, to where you don't even have to go through the whole Christian guilt thing. It's my concluding thought on that.
Yeah, mine would be, I've been rereading Philippians for some reason. And I love the Philippian church, how they were good partners with Paul. And yet there was sisters in there that needed to be reconciled, you know, and Paul made it a point for them to get with them. So the Philippian church reminds me of a good church, had elders and deacons. They had things going. They were able to support Paul's ministry. So even with that church, as healthy as it looked, Philippians 1:9-10 says, "It is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ." So even a good church, Paul is exhorting them to be knowledgeable, discerning, so that they can approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless. And I think that if that charge is given to a good, healthy church, it should be given to us as well.
Yeah. Lynette said, I think the question is, are you or we the ones bringing shame to our church? Better yet, the gospel, by the way that you or we act, that needs to be dealt with. Yeah, that's good. Anything?
Nope.
Okay. We gotta do a video for our Patreon patrons.
Yes.
So like a 10-minute video. This is where we get a little bit more personal and really speak on topics that we can't talk about on a public space.
Yeah.
So those of you that are not subscribed to us as patrons or donating to us, even if it's, I don't know, we have like a $2, $5 slot where you can contribute to the basement and what we got going on here. We got to pay bills in the basement, so we appreciate all of you that do give to the basement, but we got to make that video for them, so we can do the plugs and the shout outs as we close up.
So thank you, Lem.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Cindy, for allowing us to have your husband on board here.
Love you, babe.
Shout out to Cindy.
Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to our wives, man, for allowing us to do this, and we appreciate y'all.
Shout out to Tiff. Shout out to Lynette.
Facebook.com/group/thebasement. No one answered the question, what type of NPC this is. Y'all whack. You don't know. Facebook.com/group/thebasement is our page. Make sure you go there. Our website, wrathandgrace.com. We also have an app at the App Store, WG Universe. Go on there, and we got some brothers that are hooking up our website, hooking up our app, and our YouTube page. And by the way, there is a way to stream live on our YouTube platform along with Facebook. So I think I figured that out.
Did you?
Finally, yeah, because Switcher, I think, allows it now. So
well, that's because they're making us pay more money, right?
No.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, they didn't.
Well, they upped the
rates.
price.
That was like 6 months ago.
Okay.
But they added some new features. So we're going to explore the YouTube channel a little bit. We'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, you can go to WG Universe on the App Store, get that app. We go on every week at 9 p.m. Sometimes we go on Wednesday, sometimes Thursdays. So that's why you have to go to the group page to find out when we're going on. And I believe that is it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So grace and peace, everybody. Thank you for coming to the basement where theology meets the thoughts of life.
This was episode 110. What in the church? Part 1.
All right, y'all. Grace and peace.
God bless.